to work, and I had people waiting on me to call them, and you know how that goes. So. Absolutely. And I could tell that, not you necessarily, but like the people that were with the big guy, you know, based on what Bradley said a few minutes ago, I could tell they were doing a lot of stepping and fetching. And for me, you know, Chip's just another guy, you know, so I'm talking to him like I would Bradley or one of our guys here with us today, and I think he kind of liked that, you know. He sent me. He sent me over. Yeah.
If you'll just print Avery Moore, that'll be good.
Right.
That's all we need right now.
Exactly.
Thanks. Sorry.
Hey, while we're waiting on what we're waiting on here, I guess if they'll just send me the damn form I had, I'll use that. I mean, I had no idea we were going to have to go through.
Bring it.
We
don't print a lot here. We have to figure out.
Wow. Yeah. Hold on 1 second, Andrew. What?
He's bringing it.
Rand. So I got Rand.
Yes, sir.
And
Brandon.
Avery, what you want to talk about today? Talk to me. Oh. Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that.
And that happened while you and I were doing the Agency Nation intro.
Did you do it the next year or something?
Yeah, with her, and then all that happened with her agency, and she had to back out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I'm proud of you.
No, not at all.
No, I don't believe that. Bradley will confirm this. I text messaged him last night at nearly 10 o'clock. It was like 9:30, and I said, I can show you the text. It said, I am so excited to be interviewing Avery Moore. I am fired up about having her on this podcast. Yeah. I love your story. I'm super proud of you for what you've accomplished, first of all. And if there is anybody in this world that can empathize with what you've been through, I can promise you it's me. Because Bradley will attest that the craziest, most unbelievable things that somebody could dream up in a movie happened to me in my agency. So we have also been through a lot this year, 2022. We've deemed it the year of learning in our agency. And it just seems like it's just one borderline catastrophe after another at my agency. So hopefully that won't happen while I'm down here this week. I hope it doesn't.
You know what? I had a good friend who unfortunately has passed away now that was a very strong gambling addict. But she used to say, if the cards are bad early, they're going to be good later.
I like that.
So
I'd like to have met her.
you had a bad year this year, it'll be good next year. So
We'll write that down.
were you recording that, Rand? I suppose we could clip that.
We're recording on Zoom.
Yeah, that's a great
All right.
line.
I don't know.
I'm just waiting.
Bring the video on. I can't get out there. I would walk out there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want me to go out there?
Listen. Yeah, the last podcast we did, which will come out this Wednesday, 2 days from now, towards the end of that podcast, I got into this conversation with Bradley about, I've been working out since I was 16 years old, and I hate it. I hate working out. I will do everything in my power to talk myself out of it. I mean, that voice in your head that's like, oh, you don't need to work out today. You don't need to work. And owning an agency is a lot like that. Like every day, it feels like I almost have to say what you just said, which, hey, everybody there needs me. I've got employees and their kids that need me. The people that we serve need me. I can't just not show up. So I almost have gotten to this point where I almost equate working out, for me anyway, to owning an agency where part of it's just showing up every day. Just showing up. And, you know, the older you get and you've got a husband and a wife and maybe you've got a kid or 2 or 3 or 4 or how many you have and responsibilities outside the office, and it just becomes harder and harder. You can find a million excuses not to show
Scott,
up.
what'd you do with the original paper?
It's right here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, just give me that.
Avery, will you give us a test 1, 2 real quick? Perfect. Check this out.
This is some of them, but I don't
Let me see.
know.
Let me see.
There it is, Avery Johnson, Moore.
So just before we start, so who's gonna start with the intro? No? Okay.
We need to turn the gain down when he does his intro, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're gonna leave it, he's gonna
Back away.
back away.
Remember to
from
back
the
away, Scott.
Okay.
All right, you ready, Avery? All right. All right.
We are rolling, and if I could have someone give me a clap for singing.
Just a second, hold on 1 second, hold on, look at this. One more again.
And just make sure everyone's thumbs sound good.
You just printed it, I heard you printed it off.
I'm ready. Avery Johnson Moore. Would you rather that or Avery Moore? You tell me. That's what I thought. Move this up just a smidge. All right. Y'all ready?
All right, we're rolling. I'll count you in on 3 and just give me a clap, and then you can go for your intro.
Okay.
All right, so we are rolling. Count you in. Ready in 1, 2, 3. Give me a clap.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast, powered by Glovebox. God, I love Glovebox. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Summerland, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I've never been better.
Dude, we did it. We made it. Guys, I am sitting... Joe Rogan needs... Hey, Joe Rogan, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, Joe, you need to get down to Mobile, Alabama, and see this podcast set up. Bradley Flowers and his team, and before we get started, Bradley, I want to thank our videographers and photographers that are here today, Rand and Brandon. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this.
We've been here since like 7 or 8 o'clock this morning,
Well,
getting all this together.
And it's not just 7 o'clock this morning. It's all the setup that happened before this. I mean, guys,
It's the third time Rand has been here.
here's what I told Bradley Flowers when I walked in today. I said, For me, this is no big deal. I'm used to this kind of stuff. But if I was a local business that decided to, hey Bradley, can we come by and do a podcast at your studio? This would be intimidating.
Yeah, you've got 4 regular cameras.
Correct.
And you want to go into this one?
Please do it.
So, about 3 weeks ago, Scott sent me a video.
I did.
Of one of Scott's, you want to say heroes or idols or favorite comedians?
Just a guy that I enjoy listening to on his podcast.
Bert Kreischer.
Yep.
And he was giving an example of, he said, podcast, and he was specifically referring to Joe Rogan, but podcast should have a virtual reality camera that sits on the desk or sits in a chair in the studio, so people can put like an Oculus headset on.
Sure.
Or even you can even do it from your cell phone, which is not quite as cool, and feel like they're in the studio. And not that anyone would necessarily want to be in the studio with us, but Scott sent me that video and he said, "Get to work."
That's all I said.
And he knows I love being the first to do things,
yes.
Right? So I got to work and I found the camera we needed cost $4,700.
Nice.
In order to do this correctly. So obviously I'm not spending $4,700 on a camera that may or may not accomplish what we want to accomplish. So I rented it for a mere $200. And so we're definitely the first insurance podcast that is broadcasted in virtual reality. So if you have an Oculus headset, virtual reality headset, this is live right now, but you can actually go watch it after the fact. There's going to be some parts of it that aren't great.
Sure.
But it is definitely the first insurance podcast broadcast in virtual reality. And maybe one of the first podcasts in virtual reality. So if you have an Oculus headset, or you can do it on your cell phone, on YouTube, Insurance Guys, and
huge step out right here, Bradley.
for sure.
I think we are the very first podcast in America to be in virtual
I
reality.
meant to look and see if there was any others. But
Hey, I got a message right now from Mr. Bert Kreischer. Bert, if you're watching, listening to this right now, wherever you are in the world, don't talk about it, be about it.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have mentioned it on Two Bears in One Cave. You mentioned it, and now it's done. Here, right here. Guys, we've got a very special podcast for you guys. Something that I thought, I drove 5.5 hours yesterday down to Mobile. And you just cannot get to Mobile from Huntsville, Alabama. It's like driving to the moon, basically. But I had a lot of time on my hands, and I thought a lot about our podcast and where we started and where we are today. Guys,
it's kind of serendipitous because we're in the building that we started in.
Correct. One of the things I thought about is our mission statement of this podcast that I think about quite often, and that is to help you agents any way we can and deliver value to you guys. And as I always like to say, if I can just give you one or two things that you can turn the podcast off and maybe implement in your office, or try, okay, and it maybe that thing is the thing that takes you from $8 million in premium to $20 million in premium. And because as Mike Stromso, my friend Mike, always says, big doors swing on little hinges. And it's usually not huge changes, but those small, tiny little incremental changes that will change the whole velocity and the whole course of your agency. And we've got somebody on this podcast. Bradley, we talked about it right before we came on the show today. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you heard me talk about this earlier. I texted Bradley from the hotel down here in Mobile last night at 9:45-ish, 9:30, and I said, I am so excited to have Avery Johnson Moore on this podcast today, because one thing I know for sure, just from the small time I spent with her a couple of years ago, and then reading and looking at her stuff last night online and her biography and things like that, she can help these insurance agents.
There's certain guests that you know based on their pedigree and the things they've been through and the way they operate their agency. You know that it's going to be an episode like there's certain episodes that we post, and everything we do is good.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that was a good episode, right? And there's some similar to the one we did a few years ago about what we pay our people commission.
Right, right.
We knew when we got done with that episode that it was going to be a good episode. And it's still to this day one of our top performing episodes.
Correct.
This is one that I feel that way based on the information we're going to talk about. There's certain ones that you know people are going to be helped.
1,000%. And without further ado, guys, I want to give her the introduction, not only that she deserves, but I just feel like there's probably not been many people in the 260, give or take, episodes that we've done that deserves to be on this podcast any more than she does.
Yep.
And I mean that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, she was born, raised, and lives in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She is married to the ruggedly handsome Michael, and they have one beautiful baby Bernedoodle dog. I love those dogs so much, named Archie. You know, every time I see a Bernedoodle dog, I always forget what it is, but I love them, and I always ask the owner, like, what is that? And they go, it's a Bernedoodle. Oklahoma Agent of the Year. Sorry, I had a senior moment. I apologize, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, I do make mistakes from time to time. Now you know. She started her insurance career at a young age, doing odd jobs at her family's agency, where she's learned the value of hard work and saw the opportunity to make a difference. And here's something I want everybody to know about her. And I when I saw this last night, it jumped off the page at me. Started out as a receptionist.
Love that.
And I have story after story of successful agents that started out as a receptionist, learning how to count money, learning how to go take the deposit to the bank. Those people, to me, have a great story because
It's also there's a lot of successful agents that don't go that route, but it's a good metric to gauge success if somebody starts there and works their way up and knows every part of the business.
Exactly.
That's being dangerous in every single department,
Right.
knowing enough to be dangerous,
Right.
is a really good spot to be in as a leader.
Absolutely. She's the third generation to take over the family business. She took on the role of Director of Business Development for ECI Insurance in 2014. While in that role, she was able to help double the size of the agency. And in her nearly 10 years of experience, she has helped develop an online marketing program which was named #1 insurance website in the nation. She's built a profitable book of business through relationships and hard work. My God, preach, sister. And is an advocate for preaching to the next generation how great the insurance industry is. In 2021, she purchased the family agency and has become the third generation to continue their legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you first-time guest on the IGP, and I can promise you it will not be her last. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Miss Avery Johnson Moore. How are you, Avery? Well, I'm not trying to. There were so many other things I wanted to say on there. Billy Williams talks about when you hire people and they send you a resume, you can see that resume of success through somebody's life. And you have accomplished so much in your life. I mean, I left off some things like, I was reading this over and over last night. I probably read this 3 times. I know it didn't seem like it during the intro because I have sunglasses on and if I don't have my reading glasses on, I have a hard time seeing. So I was kind of not my normal introduction. But last night it jumped off the page at me. In her personal life, she used to compete in bodybuilding competitions. Well, what does that take? It takes a level of discipline that most people don't have to compete in bodybuilding competitions. That's the first thing. But determination, hard work, grit, those types of things. There was a lot of that stuff on your biography last night, and I said to myself, Well, here's a person that has a resume of success. Right. And by the way, I didn't even get into all your accolades in the insurance business. So, guys, let me just blow through this real quick. Young Guns 2017, Oklahoma Young Agent of the Year 2018, Oklahoma 30 Under 30 2018, Oklahoma Agent of the Year 2021, Oklahoma Best Medium Agency of the Year 2022. I could keep going, I'm not going to. Avery, we've got so much to talk about today, and there's so much that I want you to talk to these agents, the 36,000 independent agents and the 50 to 60,000 captive agents that are out there today. I want you to speak from your heart today, and maybe you and I both start crying before this thing's over with.
Good God, don't do that.
I normally ask people to go back, and let's just do that. Go back for just a minute.
Hop in the DeLorean.
Hop in my DeLorean with me, and I'll even let you drive. Talk about your growth from going from being a 10, 12-year-old kid working in the family business, and kind of bring us up to today. But then when you finish that, can you get into kind of some of the big challenge, the big thing that happened here not too long ago that you've had to overcome?
I'm like, what's a pop? You smell like the manila folder and stuff, and the ink from the carbon paper and the typewriters and stuff like that.
Mm.
Mm. One thing I want to point out, and I don't know if you had a good experience or a bad experience at the big agency, but there's this general in Twitter culture now, in TikTok culture, there's this general disdain for the corporate world, right? And a lot of it is deserved. But I tend to to sense the attitude, especially amongst younger people, of if they're in a bad situation, it's just everything's bad, right? When in reality, there's always something you can learn, even in a bad
100%.
situation. So I don't know if when you look back at that big agency, do you look at, oh, it's mostly negative or mostly positive, but I want to point out that even though there was some bad things there culture-wise, or maybe not bad, but mega agencies aren't great at culture, you picked up on the good part, which is the processes and systems. I would love to spend 2 years in a mega agency
Sure.
if I didn't have to waste 2 years.
And by the way, guys, and I don't mean to interrupt you, I was listening to Mark Cuban on a podcast this morning, and the whole 3 or 4 minutes I was listening to it, he was having this discussion about before he became an entrepreneur, he worked for some big corporations, couple of big companies, and he said, what I tried to do was take all the bad stuff that I learned there and not do it when I became an entrepreneur.
I said that about my first manager,
Yeah.
my first insurance manager. Like, I learned exactly how not to treat people, how not to manage people if you wanted to get the best out of them.
Right. So
let's not do that now, right?
So Avery, I've been thinking a lot about this in the shower the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going to throw this on you real quick, okay? Here's what I think. Bradley, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Most of the time I am. I was driving down the road the other day. I was in somewhere between Athens, Alabama and Pine Ridge, Alabama, in the middle of freaking nowhere, and I started thinking about this. In my opinion, the insurance industry for millennials, kids in college, kids in high school, the kids that are, let's say, under the age of 16 to 25 years old, it is not sexy at all, right? You cannot go to your friend's keg party in downtown Nashville with 200 or 300 kids there, and they say, "Oh, what do you do?" "Well, I'm an insurance agent." "Oh, okay." I feel like the insurance industry, in and of itself, is such a tremendous opportunity for young people. I openly tell Bradley Flowers to his face, we'll do it again right here, how jealous I am of him. You see, guys, I'm 50 years old. Bradley, you're 35? 34.
I think I turned 34.
Okay.
I stopped counting.
30. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
34 years old. Do you guys realize how much more time Bradley Flowers has on me to develop and grow his agency and leave a legacy not only to his kids but his grandkids? And he's going to do that. I've told him before I'd bet every dollar I have on his success. He's going to be successful.
I look at people who are in their 20s running agencies, and I think the same thing.
Right.
Like, God, I would trade places with her.
Yeah.
in a
So
heartbeat.
to give you some context, Bradley, I started my career, day number 1 in insurance, did not know shit from shampoo, 35 years old. Okay, so think about where you are today, where your agency is today, and imagine waiting 1 more year to even get started. That's the difference between you and I.
That's perspective.
Really. So let me finish by saying this. I feel like for kids, the insurance industry is a lot like that hot girl in high school. The hot girl in high school, guys, always dates the football player, who's usually a shithead. She wants to date the bad boy that's wearing the Leatherman's jacket and smokes a cigarette. Maybe smokes a little pot. But he's driving the Camaro. He's he's the cool kid in school that everybody likes. And that's the guy that she's going to date. She doesn't want to date the guy that's making straight A's and going to be successful and is a little bit of a dork, maybe. But guess what happens when she gets about 30 and she's had about 1 or 2 divorces?
Yeah.
Guess who she's dating? And I feel like the insurance industry is a lot like that with young people. It's like they want to go out and I want to be this and I want to be that and I want to have the cool job that everybody, when I go to the keg party or I go to Go to a bar, I say, well, you know, I work on Wall Street. I'm an assistant stockbroker.
Well, I have this theory that the most lucrative businesses are the least sexy.
Correct.
And the reason why is not that the sexier industries are less lucrative per se,
Right.
on a one-to-one level, on an apples-to-apples basis.
Sure.
But everybody flocks to those industries.
Right.
Therefore, it dilutes
Correct.
those industries versus something like insurance, which is boring as heck. Everybody
Right.
hates insurance. I hate insurance.
Right.
My customers will call me and say, man, I hate dealing with insurance. I said, you know what, I do too.
Right.
That's why we
Right.
exist.
Right.
And so the industry, I mean, what Warren Buffett does, what he actually does, what the actual job is not sexy at all.
No. No.
So I have this working theory that if you want to make a lot of money, go to businesses that are super not attractive on
Right.
the surface.
Right.
And then when you get in them, you realize they are very exciting. They are very sexy. There's a lot of interesting things that go on. I mean, go turn on the David Carruthers' The Protege, which is the first insurance reality show.
It is.
There's another one out there claiming to be the first. It's not the first. And it's exciting. It's interesting.
Right. So Bradley always, let me tell you how to make it exciting for all you young people that are listening to this right now. Bradley Flowers is the one that came up with this. I did not come up with this. You have to play the game of business in the insurance industry. If you'll play the game of business and think about it almost like a college football game. There's 4 quarters in your life, okay? And play the game of insurance and of business, and that almost, you know, Jedi mind screws yourself into making it exciting.
It's the vehicle that fuels everything.
Correct.
Right? Like
Correct.
my friends who are not in insurance, and many of them here, some of which you've met, that are in marketing and advertising and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And they're like, man, yeah, insurance is just your first stop. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, 'cause what you don't understand is, like, I'm a businessman. The insurance is just what fuels that.
It's a vehicle.
Right? That's what fuels the other. Because what you have, I actually tweeted this morning a thread of 3 pieces of advice that I give people when they're running multiple businesses.
Shit, I need to look at that.
And these are just things that I've come across. And one of those is I tell a brief story of a company that I was an equity owner in, large percentage, that actually gave up my equity for a lot of reasons. One being my heart wasn't in it anymore, but I realized that that particular business, that particular industry, does not have residual income. And every other business I had been in that I had been successful or been a part of involved residual income. And as soon as I kind of realized that, now every single other project that I'm involved in, I think even that you're involved in too, involves residual income, which is the way to go.
Correct. That's everything. I say it all the time, Avery. The money in the insurance industry is not in new business. The money in the insurance industry is figuring out how to keep it from leaking out the back door. It's renewals.
Yeah.
You know, when you sit there and you write that home and 2 autos and umbrella and life insurance policy, and you look at that first year commission, you think, I mean, it's a little bit of money, but it's not a lot. Well, take that and multiply it times 10.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Avery, I want to go ahead and get into your story now, and this is the part where I'm probably going to start crying. It's okay. I'm a big old boy, but when people know me and get to know me, they understand how emotional I am.
Hey, before you do that, let's give a shout out to Aaron Robertson, who is watching in virtual reality now.
Hey, what's up, Aaron Robert? Yeah, man, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you, brother. I love you so much.
Aaron's our tester.
Yeah.
I told him to bring his Oculus to the office, that way he could test it out.
Right. Avery, let's get into your story real quick, okay? I want to hear the story of what's happened, tragedy. I believe it's a tragedy. I haven't heard the full story yet. I've just gotten the cliff notes. Talk a little bit about what happened, how you've overcome it, how you've dealt with it, and like you said earlier, and it's tattooed on the back of my, I believe, my left arm, the word grit, G-R-I-T. Talk a little bit about that for our audience.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna start crying. So this is your is this your uncle? Mm. 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 Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. I've got no less than 5,000 agents listening to this right now. And it's something that I talk a lot about. If you don't have it in writing, you ain't got shit.
We get that call a lot.
A lot.
That's, I'm working at this agency and I'm gonna only work
Had
with
one call me last week about it.
And we get a lot of, I'm gonna approach the owner and it doesn't go so well.
So the reason I wanted to stop, Avery, and this is going to be a tough conversation, but I'm a tough conversation guy. I have them every single day, and I tell a lot of people things they don't want to hear. You loved your uncle. That is very apparent. But, and I already kind of know how this conversation went, because I've had it, I've seen it, I've done it, I've been there, done that.
I've been on both
Got
sides of it.
Got the t-shirt, been to the rodeo, seen the clowns. Talk a little bit about why it was so not good, what his mentality was, because I already know what his mentality was. Just kind of go through that for a minute. So I want these people to hear this, because this is important, because I can guarantee you he had the exact same mindset I've heard 5,000 times. Go ahead. Correct. Were you still a little bit immature? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And neither one of you's wrong. That's
Well,
the
but-
important thing. When
but-
you have these conversations and they don't go well, a lot of times, neither party's wrong.
So here's where the tires ran off the road. Okay, here's where we went in the ditch. Again, guys, I've only seen this 5,000 times. If I see it one more time, maybe I'll understand it. Avery's perspective was 27-year-old, probably pretty selfish person at that point in time. People that are in competitive bodybuilding tend to have that me. It's all about me, my looks. That
Not making any assumptions.
we won't get into your psychology, okay? We're not gonna go there. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I can just
You
tell
probably
you.
should be.
I can just tell you what I know about people. So Avery's perspective is this, because I've seen this so many times. Been here 2 years. Everybody tells me how great I am. I feel like I've done a great job. I'm putting premium on the books. I've done a great job. I deserve this. Okay, that's her perspective. We all have our perspectives, and at that point in time in her life, that was her perspective. Her uncle's perspective is, some bitch, I've been here 30 years, 15, 20 years. I see it in my own agency. I have people in my agency right now, today, that have been at my agency for 2 years, and I guarantee you 1,000,000% in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I deserve part of this agency. 2 years. Been there 2 years. His perspective is, Avery, I love you. I love you. You're my niece. You're going to need to put a little bit more time in service before we sit down and start having this conversation. Mm-hmm. Avery, am I right or am I wrong? Yeah, I know I'm right. I know I'm right. Go ahead. Yeah. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Which is a weird mindset to have as an insurance agent. You probably at one point sold life insurance.
Right.
I mean, you know that about people.
Go ahead. Right.
Mm.
But first day you storming out of the office, going home and being like, you're not going to believe this. Yeah, I thought you.
That's a good spouse.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say, being a good spouse, and hearing your perspective, right? Because again, we've all got our perspectives. Hearing your perspective, he was like, "Yeah, he ought to give you some of this agency. What's you need to go look for another job, that kind of thing." I thought that's what you were going to say.
There's some YouTube personality that had a relationship piece where he said, when your spouse comes home, whether it's male, female, doesn't matter, and is venting to you about a problem they encountered that day, no matter how great or small,
Sure.
you need to stop them and say, is this a problem you need me to solve or a problem you just need me to listen to?
There is a personality type out there, and I have a couple of these in my agency. They do not want you, because Bradley, you know me.
You're a problem solver.
I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to jump on it as fast as I can jump on it, and I'm going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3, here's how we're going to solve it, here's what we need to do.
And sometimes you just need to get it out.
There is a personality type out there, and I have 1 or 2 of these in my agency right now. They do not want you to solve the problem. They just want to vent to you. And when you try to jump in and solve the problem, the only purpose that you serve is to piss them off.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Avery, go ahead. Right. Right. Sure. Right. Let me stop you again, and I hate to be the guy that stops the story. I hate that. It's a pet peeve of mine. Did this cause a rift to some degree between you and your uncle, where there's this like unspoken energy between the two of you that was a little off because of the initial conversation you had over the next couple of years? Write that shit down, people. Write that shit down.
Yep. Yep. You said something important though. I have a friend that's in my head right now that's still in a very similar situation. And what he has discovered after the initial conversation, which his initial conversation actually went okay, in terms of there wasn't a big blow up. Now the owner deflected, and it was real awkward. In his situations, he's just trying to leave and take his book with him. He just wants to buy his book.
Sure.
And the initial conversation went okay, other than there were no results. But he's discovered he has to keep bringing it up. And I want you to stress that to everybody, that you had to keep bringing this up. It's not something, regardless of how the owner felt about this is an awkward, uncomfortable conversation, let alone throwing in your mortality in there. So you've got to be the one to keep bringing this up in a very nice, approachable way. Correct? Our quarterly knockdown drag out.
Well, Avery, would it have been better for you, from your perspective, again, you were a bodybuilder, so you're very selfish, would it have been better for you to have dealt with somebody like a Scott? Here's the kind of thing Scott Howell would have done, okay? Not your Scott Howell.
I'm so interested to hear this.
Because I'm a fix it and move on down the road kind of guy, and maybe this would have been the wrong thing to do. After about the second time you brought it up, or third time, so now probably a year later, if you kept periodically, once every 6 months, bringing this conversation up about you having ownership in the agency, I probably would have at some point sat down with a pen and paper and laid out for you your path, your track to partnership.
Sounds like you've done that before.
Where I would have said, all right, I'm tired of having this conversation, and I'm tired of this energy that we kind of have between each other. So here it is, Avery. You're at year 2, now you're at year 3. You're at year 3. You're so worried about having ownership in this agency. Let's get right with the Lord on this, okay? So, Avery, at year number 10, we're going to value this agency. And I've talked to some people in the industry, and based on your performance and the fact that you're a family member and one day you're going to have this entire agency when I retire, at year number 10, I'm going to give you 10% of this agency. Not give you, but sell you 10% of this agency. How does that make you feel, Avery? Would that have made you happy? Would you have been happy at that point? Right. Yep. That's what I was thinking when Bradley was talking just a minute ago. There is another personality type, and I think this is more prevalent than we even know. A lot of people are non-confrontational, which usually leads to resentment building up until finally that not so big thing happens and they just completely fly off the handle. And you're like, what? All I did was not put my plate up. What are you talking about?
I'm like that. My wife will tell you, I'll avoid the confrontation, and then I'll just explode.
Right. I've got 3 or 4 of those in my agency as well. Yeah. Go ahead, Adrian.
So continue your. Wow.
Yeah.
Scott and I know of an agency that just to put it politely, Daddy is screwing everybody.
Yeah.
You know that one I'm talking about?
I do.
It's the opposite of that, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
But Kerry Wallace will tell you, when you go down the list of private equity money, right, that's probably going to get you your most bang for your buck, right? If you sell out
the
to
7 to 12 EBITDA you hear.
Yeah, right. Huge numbers. Then you drop down, low end, right. Then you drop down to a agent selling to an agent. That's the next tier down. And that's now usually what, 2.5, 3, maybe even 3.5.
Depends if you're looking at EBITDA revenue, but yeah.
Somewhere in that range. And then that next tier down below that is either selling to the employees, somebody or multiple people in the agency, or a family member. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
That's you, Avery.
Yeah, I mean, I had an agent the other day tell me he wanted 5x.
Yeah.
Revenue, not EBITDA, revenue.
Right.
I mean, yeah, revenue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so 1.5, when you compare it to that, I mean.
Yeah, she got it at a very discounted rate.
Well, I wouldn't say discounted, but a good deal.
Right. Go ahead, Avery. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Awesome.
Bang.
Yeah. Hmm.
Did he jump on a plane and head down to MD Anderson in Houston? Yeah. Right.
Hmm. But you have 14 families sitting there worried about how this is going to affect them. Let's just say it like it is. Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you had a buy sell. Why were you needing to negotiate? What was the deal? What was the deal with that?
Mm. Right.
Right.
This is you and your cousin?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go.
Yeah.
I can see
But it
that.
seems, and it seems with the perpetuation plans too, you have three types of agencies. You have people who are ignoring it and have their fingers in their ears, which is the worst thing you can do.
Which is most agents.
Which is most agents. You have people who think they have a perpetuation plan, which is what it sounds like you guys had. And then you have people who actually do it, which are the huge minority.
Right. So you said something just a second ago that caught my attention. You said, there's nothing I wouldn't do to have that relationship back. Does that mean that we ain't spending Thanksgivings and Christmases together anymore? Yep. Right.
Mm.
Write that shit down.
Yeah. So let's sorry, go ahead. Let's go. We're dealing with all that stuff. You have to take this agency over. Let's go to the other side of it. We've got about 15 minutes left. You have to take this agency over, and you have to convince these 14 people and their families and your carriers to continue on. And to some degree, it's got to be business as usual. What did you do when you walked into office that first day? Like, what was your first thing you did?
Juggling chainsaws now, folks.
Exactly. That's exactly what you did. That's the title of this episode.
Juggling chainsaws.
So you're dealing with that too. That's a hard position to be in.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Are you on TikTok? They saw you through the teenage dirtbag years. If you're familiar with that trend,
Yeah.
that was not an insult. That's a TikTok trend going around everybody. For the three people listening to this that aren't on TikTok. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, taking over an agency under, no matter the size of an agency, taking over an agency or a business, just in general, is like super stressful.
Yeah.
Let
But
alone all this other stuff.
I will say this: if she had a buy-sell agreement with Scott, they probably knew at some point she was going to take over.
If
There
they
was
know about it.
there was an understanding. I think. Well, and plus, if I worked for an agency that had family members working there, doesn't matter the capacity, my thought process would be, okay, well, I'm not taking this thing over, they're taking it over.
It's still tough, and I've done this, going from here to boss.
Oh,
And
100%.
it's even tougher when the person who becomes the boss is younger than
Oh,
everybody else.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they?
That's awesome.
That speaks to your character. Hey, I got a question all these agents are out there listening right now want to know. You mentioned early on in this podcast, you said I had to go borrow millions of dollars. How the hell did you go borrow millions of dollars at? How'd you do that? Yeah.
Wow.
With Insure Bank. Wow. Wow. Hey, on behalf of Bradley Flowers and myself, Insure Bank, we do have sponsorship opportunities available for the calendar year 2023 if your marketing department would like to reach out to us. Anyway, I'm sorry, that's all in there. So, well, I appreciate you
And
saying
it's
that.
important with an industry like insurance that the bank that you're dealing with understands the insurance industry.
There's the problem.
That's
Her first mistake was even trying to go to, say, a local First National Bank or a Regions, or you might as well go drive your car off into the Gulf of Mexico.
You'd have a better shot going to a pawn shop.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You might as well just go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn and try to borrow $2.5 million. Guys, if this ever happens to you, please don't go to your local community bank and think they're going to be able to handle this.
So Avery,
They don't understand it. They don't understand the business model. They don't understand the ins and outs. You're going to have to go to a Westfield. Isn't that one of them?
Westfield does it.
Westfield, Insure Bank,
Live Oak is another
Live
one.
Oak's another one. Sponsorship opportunities available for 2023, guys. If you guys want to bid on that, but go ahead.
So Avery, in closing, Grant Cardone talks about when you read a book, try to pick up one thing. So many people try to take the fire hose of information and just
Sure.
but really you need one thing. You're looking for one good thing. So what's the one thing you want agents to take away from this story? Yeah.
Avery, before we go, I have one question I wrote down for you before we started this podcast. It's a very selfish question, but it might be able to help a lot of insurance agents out there. Completely off topic from what we've been discussing. I wrote down the question because I've got a CSR in my agency right now who's a very good person, who does a good job for us, but she's very inexperienced. And I need to get her some training. She just hasn't been in the insurance world for that long. And what we do in our agency is very complicated from time to time, our particular niche. Where, if you were Scott Howell and you wanted to get a CSR account manager trained up, needed to get them some more just insurance training, where would you recommend me going to do that? For her. Right. And that's the name of it, My Network Table? And that's online I could go to? Have you ever used Total CSR? Okay. So I want to end this podcast. I can tell this podcast is taking a little bit of a toll on you emotionally today. You look like you need to go home and take a nap, like you just got out of a therapy session. And I apologize for that. That's not our intent, but at the same time, as painful as it is to kind of pull some of these scabs off for you, what you've done is helped some other agents. And I'll tell you what I took away from this, Bradley Flowers, before we get off the show. It's one thing to have a buy-sell agreement, and that's great, and that's fine, and that's dandy, but buddy, you better have something airtight. Mm-hmm. Because
where the worst case scenario,
where the train ran off the tracks for her, is it sounds to me like his family attorney, Scott's family attorney, drew up something that at the time satisfied her, but was not as detail-oriented as it probably needed to be in the event of a catastrophe, which we had happen, right? And so my takeaway from it is, if you're going to do it, and you're going to do a buy-sell agreement, better be airtight, better be very well documented and laid out so that you don't have a situation that's happened to Avery that will affect her for the rest of her life.
Yep.
And that is unfortunate for her. It's unfortunate for her family. And if her family does happen to somehow, some way listen to this, I'm going to tell you something, guys. It ain't worth it. Yeah. Love each other up. I mean, if Scott taught us anything, it's life is short. I wish that he could have been on this podcast in the hospital to talk about regret and things he could have done differently. How long, Scott, if you had it to do over again, how long would you stay with the agency? Because I guarantee you, if I would bet my next 100 paychecks, he would have said I'd have stepped back sooner and enjoyed life a little bit more, right? Something I talk about on here all the time.
Yep.
January 1st, 2032, Scott Howell's walking away.
Yeah.
I ain't doing this shit. I'm not doing this shit till I'm 70 years old and have blood in my urine and I'm dead 3 weeks later. Now, if y'all want to go do that, have the hell at it.
Yeah.
Scott's not doing that. I am going to enjoy the fourth quarter before it's all over with.
Well, we all know, every one of us knows the story of an agent that
Yeah,
seemingly
got two right now.
died in their office. Yeah, everybody knows that agent that's like, I'm running it into the ground, whether they did that intentionally or not. And do you really want to be that person? Would they want to be that person if they had to do it again?
My mentor, Ricky Sims, Hamilton, Alabama, been an independent agent. Well, his business partner was the damn vice president of the Big I for like Seeger.
Bill Seeger.
Bill Seeger. Goes to the doctor, got throat cancer, got to go to MD Anderson, sells the agency a year later, sold it last year to one of these big Marsh, somebody like that. My friend, Bill Henry, Douglasville, Georgia, 16-hour surgery at MD Anderson, cut his entire stomach open and poured whatever that shit is they pour in you, that usually you take through intravenously, what's it called, the cancer treatment. 16-hour surgery. 16-hour surgery. So, anyway, I'll leave you with that. Avery, thank you so much for being on here today. We love you. Thank you for being on here. Go home and take a nap. You need it. When I was in marriage counseling therapy for about a year before I got divorced, I would literally, when I walked out, I said, I need to go home and take a nap.
Yeah.
That's how emotional it would get, and so I get that. But guys, as I end every podcast, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world. Make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund, for your parents that are struggling out there. Go make money for them today. Write good business for the companies that you represent, and write good business for the agencies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Avery.
Avery, we love you very much. If you ever need anything, I'm a phone call away, okay? Yes, ma'am. Guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.
High five.
Great job, Avery. Avery, I am so sorry that we had to pull that Band-Aid off today. I apologize. Next time we're gonna talk happy thoughts. We're gonna talk about good stuff.
There you
Exactly.
go. We'll do it later in the day.
Yeah.
We'll do it later in the day.
All right. Have a great day, ma'am.
See ya.
Bye bye. Man, that's tough. Man, that's tough.
Shall we end video?
Yeah.
Gosh,
Go to,
I
go
can't
to,
freaking imagine.
Industries and
go to YouTube and hit screen. Yeah.
Dang, that's tough.
I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah.